Costume designer. So this play was really hard for me. There's not a lot of direction when it comes to costumes. It's kind of here, it's kind of there. You're not given a time or place. So finding an anchor for the show was really hard. And to start with it, I went with my initial responses to this play. And there's this loneliness. But every character has a goal. But it's not flat. There's stones, there's dimension, there's texture, underlying feelings that you don't see until you delve deeper into the characters. So this picture with the texture and the colors and the loneliness, you know, it feels like everybody is in this world trying to fight through it themselves in their own ways, looking towards that tunnel of light, you know, that speck of hope, and it's the motivation that really took me to my designs for this piece. So, my emotional research. They're in an urban environment, so you really need to have that street kid, the dark, the light, the textures, the grime, there's dirt, there's, you know, but where are they getting their clothes, you know? Some people are coming to the city, some people are from the city, and some people are from a whole different world. So for these pictures are my emotional responses. You know, one of an environment overtaking a person. You know, this incomplete lost. They're in this haze, they don't know where they are, the environment is another factor that's completely changing who they are, their person, their thoughts, their ideals. And then again, it's that tunnel, it's that hope, it's the light, and they're surrounded by something. They're stuck in this place. And yet again, you know, every little thing, as you go through the play, one thing that affects one person will ripple and affect the next person, and the next person, and the next person. Dionysus, for example, is lonely and sad, and from that is why he starts interacting with Skinhead Boy. It's interesting to watch the ripple effect throughout the show. And this is just the show's magical. You know, it's kind of based in reality, it's kind of not, it's here and there. And so, just this, you know, that's a person. But the way the photo was taken, it just gives you this magical, eerie, kind of lonely thoughts, and that's really displayed, loneliness and this looking for companionship and not knowing how to find it. And then finally, this was my emotional response to Philomel, who sees all but can't say anything, doesn't interact, you know, is kind of a ghost on the wall. And so here's some historical research. This play is based off of Ovid's Metamorphosis. From the Greek myths, there's the water, the flow, and that is seen in the dress in the Greek mythology. There's a sexiness, there was this interconnection with your sexuality and humanity that wasn't as taboo as it is nowadays, which I think is really important for the show. Okay, so my color palette, very similar to Kayla's. I kind of picture this as people are dirty, and each little scene you scrape up and you see their colors, and you learn more of them, and you understand that there's thoughts, there's emotions, there's something that's driving them through this play. And so my first thought was an opal, you know, ugly, dirty rock, until you scrape away the outside, and there's these colors, and they're beautiful, and they're fantastic. And then this is a painting of water in a beach. And water is so important, and the same colors in here are incorporated in the opal. So it really spoke to me. So let's start with Persephone. She's the queen of the underworld. You know, she has power, she likes to use it. In this show, I see her as more of a sexual deviant. And she uses that as her way to get what she wants. So this is my emotional research, you know. Kind of dark, lonely, but regal. And here's historical. It was the pomegranate that stuck her in the underworld, and she's kind of upset about it. Say the least, you know. The reason we have winter 4 months of the year is because she's pretty pissed that she's stuck in Hades. And then another photo of just kind of that raw sexuality that drew Hades to her, drew him to want to steal her into the underworld, which I think is really important. You know, that lack of choice that she was given into her fate that she got. So my modern research. I wanted to start off by giving her a very Grecian goddess appeal because she is the only goddess in the show, completely. She's beautiful, she's young, she's the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. But you notice she's appealing, and she tries to use that to her benefit throughout the show. So to start her dress off, so it wouldn't be too regal, I decided to have a translucent-like layer over something that would cover to make it a little bit more appropriate. But my thoughts is she's more of a streetwalker in this world. You know, she's gone through times, this, and this, and now she's stuck here. And she's living it out as a streetwalker, using her looks and her body as a way to get attention. So that's where this comes into play as part of her first gown, which is the only time you'll ever see it. It's also going to be watermarked. She's down in the underworld. She's by the river. Water is a symbol for her. She'll also have tattoos, pomegranate, the symbol of Hades as her marking, you know, her scar, why she is the way she is. Then I wanted to cover her up. I wanted to take that first dress and put that environment that she's in now over it. And that's with this fur coat. I kind of want a vintagey, worn fur jacket that she puts over herself as almost a covering, a shield, but it also draws her into this urban world. So here's the costume design for that. With the Grecian lines in the first costume, a translucency that's not going to be completely translucent, but you can see the shape of the body underneath it. Gives it a sex appeal, takes away some of the regalness. And then here's a version of the dress, which will be very similar. Problem that we run into is that she has to turn into a simile on stage. So the second dress has to be similar to the first dress and hide another dress under it. So the jacket's part of that, you know, her covering, her shield, her armor, and then the dress underneath is going to be a loose, flowy version of the first dress that's completely opaque, so you can't see the dress underneath. And then, simile. Zeus is the man that takes what he wants. Simile was one of the things he wanted. So Patrick and I had talked about that he wants it to be uncomfortable. She's young, you know, an old man and a young girl. He just takes her for what he is. So I had a hard time, you know. I wanted a certain thing, my thoughts to fit under a slim dress would have been a nightgown of some sort. Then it'd just be undressing, and there would be no difference in character. And so Patrick said he wanted something more of a sundress. So as I looked, you know, I looked at the flowers and the prints and thought it was too bold for the character. It's not that she drew attention to herself because of what she was wearing. It was Zeus found her and loved her, wanted her, lusted for her. So I found this. You know, it's a lace dress. Very feminine, girly, darker colors. You know, there's a little bit fading going on. There's almost like the lack of color has kind of taken away her innocence with it. I think is really important as the show goes on. So that's what this is, and it'll be paired with a nice wool coat to keep her warm because everybody's outside. So here's just a sitting. So as her character, the change between Persephone and Semele will be taking out the hair and dropping the dress and the jacket. And underneath it will be this dress that's lace and thin and vulnerable, but still girly and young. Okay, now G. G is Zeus and Hades. Really, really important to know that Zeus and Hades are so similar. Even though, you know, one's king of the gods and one's king of the underworld, and there's always a feud going on. But both take what they want. Both are proud, both are gods, and both know it. You know, they have their own kingdoms, they have their own domains. And that was the hard thing for me, was finding a factor that tied them together. And in this show, definitely the fact that they just take what they want is that factor. So this photo is just kind of like that predator. Just, you know, no thought or care to what the woman feels. He's going to take what he wants. So, my thoughts are that Zeus is a bigwig. He's a bigwig up on the streets, and he comes down to the pier to grab a little ass. Take what he wants, you know. He doesn't have to come back to it. He doesn't have to take care of it. He takes it, he uses it, and it's done. So, I thought the eerie black on black was a great way to show that dark side without it being uppity class-wise. I also found that blue is a color that is used for both Hades and Zeus. So I'm going to pair that with a blue tie. It's kind of his pop of color. So yeah, he has the grime, the darkness, but there's something inside of him. There's a motivation inside of him. There's a reason he's doing what he's doing. So this will be G, you know, high class, modern version of Zeus. I wanted to go with the long hair and the gray beard, and it's pointed out that it looks a lot like George. I decided to go with a whole different and I got into this just watching all of these terrible, terrible versions of Greekness that have been made into modern movies. And one of them was Percy Jackson. And there's Zeus in this modern way. He's not gray-haired, he's not white, he doesn't have long hair and a huge beard. You see them trimmed up, and so I took it to a different version. He has a goatee, he's an older man, he's trying to pull off this demeanor, you know, to fit in, so that's why he doesn't look traditionally like Zeus. Philomel. Tragic character. She sees everything, she's there the whole time, and she doesn't really get to interact. Her say isn't really anything in this play. It's really tragic and sad, and she longs to be a part of it so bad. So I thought it was really important to look at this desolate emotion of what Philomel was. So these are my emotional research for her. And then this photo is of her and her sister. You know, she lost her tongue because of her sister's husband, broke her heart to kill her son. Really tragic story. And I think it's important to show that. So, we wanted a very traditional Grecian silhouette, but something interesting, something that draws the attention without drawing too much attention away from the acting on stage. So there's layers. Her character has so much layers, and I kind of take her bird-like appearance into this where she loses feathers, loses layers throughout the show. Then there comes a point where it shows, her rape scene. Her story comes out, and it just gets uncomfortably short and sad. And then it's also watermarked, it's worn. There's wear, there's tear, she's been in this environment, she's watched this happen again and again and again, and there's nothing she can do. So here's the design. So Philomel's going to be kind of hippie-ish. She's going to have dreads, she's going to have feathers, she's going to have layers of clothing. And so as the show goes on, she'll lose a layer, lose another layer, lose another layer, and then finally after the rape scene, she just is bare, vulnerable, completely who she is. So Dionysus, he's a snake. Really, he's a loner. He doesn't really have anybody around him, but he's looking for companionship. But every time he finds it, it doesn't work, goes wrong, and he entices people with his, in this case, drugs. He uses that to pull them in. That's his way, he thinks, to get people to love him. It's his surface line attraction. He also is a pretender god. He wants to be a god. His father's a god, his mom's a woman. He doesn't know what to choose. So the snake-like, the shedding of skins, I think is really important for this character. And then this is just a historical statue of him eating grapes and pouring wine. And then this was a really interesting piece of art but it's so snake-like and sad and kind of scary. Just fit him for me emotionally. So for him, he's a rich guy. He's coming down to play. That's kind of what's going on. He has drugs, you know. He's gonna entice people. He's gonna make a new friend. The friend betrays him, but you know, he's gonna make a new friend. And so I took it as him having layers and skins. So he has this green jacket, green being the color that I really associate with Dionysus. You know, this envious of relationships. He wants to be around people, you know, so bad. You know, and then he's nice. He's a nice pair of jeans. He's not too dressed up, but he's from the nice side of town. He has a nice button-up shirt. But, you know, you take off the jacket, it's completely different, just a button-up shirt and pants. Unbutton the shirt, there's going to be something under that that makes it completely different and takes away from that building. And as he sheds skins and layers throughout the show. So here's Dionysus. And also, he's going to be wearing those really fancy two-tone Clark shoes because he's a pretender god. You know, he's going to have a shiny watch. He's going to have a big ring on his finger because he is a god. States it over and over again that I am a god. So there needs to be small things here and there that really show how he feels about himself, which I think is really important. Orpheus. So his whole goal in this is to catch up with Eurydice, who's run away from him. He's in love. He's, you know, so sad that she's run away to the city and he follows her here. The entire reason he's here, motivation, he's here for her. He is also known as a lyre, sang so beautifully that nymphs fell in love with him. So I thought it was really important to incorporate a music side. So in modern society, I took him as a kind of rocker. But rural, because he's coming into the city chasing Eurydice, and there's this dressing up that he's doing. He wants to be this. He wants to be a part of this. And as he goes through, you can see how he's living in more of the urban-esque side of it. There's going to be pieces of him that are more country, you know. Instead of the really dark wash jeans, he'll have a lighter wash jeans. And, you know, his leather jacket isn't going to be perfect. It's going to be kind of crumpled. And the shirt he wears every day is a shirt that he wears every day. But he is trying to make it as a rock star. I think it's really important. Here's him. So the great thing about the t-shirt is that it has been made as a band shirt with Eurydice on it. His whole goal, you know, his idolization is Eurydice, as everything to him. So the shirt underneath may not be completely recognizable off stage, but crumpled, torn, he wears it every day, but that is his goal. That is what he's looking up to. That is who he's chasing after, is Eurydice. Okay, so Eurydice. She decides that she has a say in this story, which I think is really important, you know. She doesn't want to be around him. She's running away from something. She's scared. But she's pushing. She's not willing to just come along and be the good one. At the end, you know, she ends up firing against him. So I think it's really important, the fact that there's this tension, that she's trying to be her own person. She's trying to morph into something else. So what I take it, so she has this countryness. She's coming into this world. She's new to this environment. So there's parts of that on her. And then she puts on this Carhartt, which is, yeah, from her environment, but more industrial, more city. It's a layer she's putting on for this environment. Then she's going to change out her nice shoes and put on a pair of boots, which is another layer as she changes and morphs into something new in this environment. So this is just the dress and the boots. But, you know, something feminine, something sweet, but hard as well. You know, the contrast and the textures of the clothing on her, I think, is really important because she's leaving this scared girl and she's going to turn into something strong. Narcissus is a fun one because he's the only one that we get told what he's wearing. You can tell that he's wearing weird clothes, and that he's putting on makeup. So, we get to play with this. My thoughts was pointed out to me as Adam Lambert is a fantastic version of somebody that's kind of that rave chic going on. And, you know, full of yourself, that need for attention, something that shouts out, look at me, I think is really important. Because there's this inner softness to him that's only shown to Echo, but it's important that there's another person when they're covering something up and they're showing it with their outer appearance. You know, look at me, pay attention to this, don't look what's inside. So, for rave wear, that was hard for me. Modern rave wear, men just kind of wear what they wear. You know, there's not really a specific thing. Tank tops and leather pants, you know. It's about the one thing that I can find similar. So, I decided to go with that. And the tank top's going to be peacocky colors, you know. Very full of yourself, bright, vibrant, standout colors. And a pair of leather pants, which yells, look at me. Very much. And then a jacket, you know, he has to cover himself up, but he's still going to go somewhere in this world. So here's Narcissus. It's a white leather jacket, and he's going to be armed with, like, glow sticks and, you know, a band that says that you just got out of a rave, and you're going to have fantastic makeup because, you know, your appearance is of utmost importance. Very important. So, on the other side of this, there's Echo, who's trying to hide herself, completely camouflage herself. She's in love with Narcissus. He doesn't see her, so she doesn't make herself stand out. This show, it's really important, though, that she finally speaks. So, my thoughts are kind of loner girl, long hair unkept, just put on clothes, you know, whatever covers her body. She doesn't want to show that she's a woman. She doesn't want to show her sexuality. She's the most girl-like in this. It's just kind of this innocence about her, and her innocence just says that she loves Narcissus, and that's all there is to it. So, you know, long hair, just thoughts of just sitting there and watching the person you love not even notice your existence. And then, if anybody's seen Hemlock Grove,
Yep.
this was what I had in mind. Christina, just this, she's looking in from the outside. She has these friends that want her to be this way. They're the pretty, the popular, and she's just watching. And that's what I see Echo as, just watching. And so, what I thought was one of those big army green jackets. Just cover her up. Pair of skinny jeans, you know, cover her legs, a pair of Converse, nothing that screams look at me, nothing that says attention. Long sleeve t-shirt, a t-shirt. Dark muted colors because she does not want people to take notice of her. Hair is unkept, you know, it's just there. She's not. Her goal is to just get Narcissus to love her, but it's not to be noticed by anybody else. Skinhead boy. Really interesting because there's so much depth from him. He's from somewhere else. He's come into this city world, the skinhead girl. There is a companionship between them, but he's addicted to something, and that something ends up being his downfall. What was important to me was the fact that skinhead was the name used, and skinhead was the name that Dionysus gave him as well, being that there has to be something about him that is skinhead-like. So white, you know, kind of bad boy-esque. I don't care what you think. He has a tattoo that says "fuck Nazi scum" across his chest. You know, he does not care. He is who he is, and he's going to do what he wants. So I took him as just the kind of person putting on layers. It's there, it's convenient. He's not going to put a lot of thought into it. All he wants is his speed. All he wants out of life. He's not going to put much effort. So just a pair of gray pants, you know, a hoodie, old, worn, something to keep him warm because he's so skinny, cold, drugged out, you know, he needs those layers, and then just a worn leather jacket. Not too specific, but his head's going to be shaved, close, Not completely, but there's still the signs that he is who he is, and a reason for Dionysus to call him Skinhead Boy. The Skinhead Girl. She's so scared. She followed the Skinhead Boy out here. She's terrified where she is. She doesn't like to be left alone, but she's gonna put on an act. She's gonna act tough, even if she isn't. So I picture this as tattoos. Very important. Yes, she's alone, but she's not going to show people that she's alone. She's also from the skinhead world, the shaved head, the Aryan, everything about that. So, very modern way to put her directly in our time and place is the side shaved head, the long hair. Very, very modern look. And then I want her in, she's been living on the streets for a while, so her clothes aren't going to be as nice as the other characters. She's going to be in clothes that were found at a thrift store, something that maybe was found at a higher end of town, out of a garbage can, something worn, something that covers her, but kind of leaves her vulnerable. I also picture her with tattoos. They're another covering to hide who she is, to try to save herself from the fear that she sees in her environment. So this is just a pair of boots to cover her legs, but she's still in a dress. She's still vulnerable. Yes, she has a jacket, but not very heavy. There's still something vulnerable about it and feminine, even though she tries to put on an act. So. And then the one thing to tie all these characters together is leather. My thoughts are that leather is timeless, as is the show. So each character will have leather aspects that tie them all together to show that they all live in the same world and they're from the same environment. That's all.